I think we're actually going to use the graphic today because it's easier for me to demonstrate what I'm intending to achieve. So we'll listen to that piece.
My name is Oliver Kimball.
So it sounds quite thin.
Genius, prodigy, maths, whiz kid.
So we don't really want to do any boosting.
A-level, point 10, degree by 14,
Because
by 50. I've had enough. I just can't take it anymore.
there is some lower mid there. As he comes closer to the mic, you can hear that intensity. As you get the proximity effect, as they go away, it gets thinner. So I think realistically what we're going to do is to just start to take some top end off. There's also a really annoying, see if we can find it.
It's a mast. He climbed up a mast.
Well, just a minute, it's probably more.
Look, like this. Well,
Somewhere.
Yeah, okay. He climbs up the mast of an old wooden boat.
Hey Oliver, what
There
are
it
you
is.
doing up there?
I've had enough. I just can't do it anymore. I hear his name is Oliver Kimball.
Sorry, should we see?
He's a genius, prodigy, maths.
There's that really annoying whine coming off the fans on the scrollers.
Point 10, degree by 14, passes by 50.
I think it's there. Might be at 4K.
I just can't take it anymore. All he wants a normal life, and so he finds
So we
the
can
nicest
already.
he can and he climbs.
That's where it is. So you hear there's that really annoying whine coming off the fans and cooling all the moving lights in the room. So we won't take it out completely, but what we can do, we can just reduce it slightly.
It's a mast.
And already we've got rid of that noise straight away. So there's use these. Imagine these filters. You've got 31 bands all the way across there. These are very narrow Q. Almost like if you set your parametric equalizer up to have 31 bands with really high Q numbers, so really tight bells. That's essentially what you've got here, and they're all sort of standard set frequencies rather than being able to be slid about. So we've now dealt with. We've already got rid of that background noise. There are noise filter systems on the software as well, but you have to have an area of silence to sample the noise to remove it, and it's actually easier just to do it with EQ. So we've dealt with that. So now we've still got a little bit of an issue with the proximity effect. So let's see if we can boost the lower mids a little bit. Having said that's a bit of a no-no, I think we want to give the voices a little bit of punch. So sort of 250, 315 maybe.
I've had enough. I just can't do it anymore. I hear his name is Oliver Kimball.
If you go too high up the low mids, you start to get sort of very nasally. So we don't want that. So we want the punch. So 315 is quite good for a male vocal.
I just can't take it anymore.
And now all of a sudden they're in the room. So you've taken that voice that was suffering from the proximity effect, being the distance, and we've brought it much further into the mix, just simply by adding a very gentle push at the lower mid area to reduce that proximity effect. So in keeping with my comment that we should do reductive EQ, there's a lot of foot noise going on, so I think we can probably afford.
Hey Oliver, what are you doing up there?
I've had enough. I just can't do it anymore. I hear his name is
We can probably afford to take out everything above 1.6, just very gently, 1.6K, very gently.
Whiz kid. A-level, point 10, degree by 14, passes by 50. I've had enough.
So there we are. So we've just gently reduced everything from 1.6K to 2.5K. So there's only 3 bands. And we've been very gentle again, just enough to take that crispness off that we're suffering, where with the proximity effect, the top end of a condenser mic starts to get very hyped, tends to get very sharp, and that's what we're suffering from there. So we're taking that off. We've now tidied up that sound as well. So you can see we're just very gently changing the EQ of the room and changing those frequencies that are standing out because of the nature of the mic we use, the distances that were involved. We've just gently tidied that up. So there's a lot of sibilance still going on the top end that's to do with, that's coming off those feet, that's resonating around the room, a lot of top end. That's because the stage floor is a large shiny surface, and that top end is quite well reflected. So I reckon we could probably start around the 12.5K mark. and start to listen out for those footsteps. So we'll boost it quite a lot to start with. Wait for them to shuffle. Come on. Yeah.
What? Of an old wooden boat. Look, like this. Well, for some reason, he finds himself out to sea. Yeah, okay. He climbs up the mast of an old wooden boat.
Hey, Oliver, what are you doing up there?
I've had enough. I just can't do it anymore.
And by taking that 12.5K out to solve that crispness, what we've of the feet, what we've actually done is to flatten the vocals off, so the vocals now sound as if there's no air on top of them. So we can artificially undo that by just going slightly higher up the frequency range where those feet aren't a problem, and just putting a little bit of a push on to put the air back on top of the vocals, so we put that crispness back on top. So it's all about just curves, being very gentle. Anything major you do, you're going to ruin the original recording. It's a pretty linear mic as it is. It's actually done quite a good job of picking the room up. You don't want to do too much.
What? Of an old wooden boat. Look, like this.
So now we've dealt with that, and actually the vocals sound as if they're in the room. We've brought them forwards a little bit. But what we've actually now got is the resonance of the room is a little bit boomy. And that's actually below the vocals at probably 160 or so. So if we just 160 to 125, knowing the room, EQing the room quite often, I think 125 is probably quite a safe bet.
I've had enough.
So there you are. Now the boom of the room is gone. So you just got to think where these sounds are in relation to, just top and bottom really. So we're looking at the boom in the room is obviously going to be at the low end. You can have a conversation with someone without it completely taking off in the space. So it's not going to be within the main point of the vocal range in that particular space. In some rooms, really clangy, really echoey rooms, your echo takes off and you end up with that really big reverberant tail that's just completely unusable. So in this space, we're quite lucky that boom, that resonant frequency of the room, the lower note, is actually so low that it's almost on the lower. It sits below the main dynamic energy of the vocals. So we've now treated that as well.
I've had enough. I just can't take it anymore.
And that's crisp, clear. There's a little bit of whine from those scrollers still. I don't think we're going to improve for that. So that's probably the EQ pretty much done as far as we're going to get to improve that to polish that recording. So once we've done that, what we probably want to do is to add the new preset, and we'll call that Risky because it's the Academy of Risk. Okay, so we'll apply that for the moment to just this section, this 50-second section that we're working on.
His name is Oliver Kimball.
Like that. So now we've got that processed. Okay, so that's the equalization done for the moment.